Hi, we're Lisa and Angie. Welcome to another episode of Pep Talks and Prosecco.
If you like what you see and hear, be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram and share with your friends and family. We are all about building community.
Cheers!
Cheers.
Cheers, Lisa. Happy Sunday to you, my friend.
Cheers. Happy Sunday to you.
Let me know how good that Prosecco is. It's pretty tasty.
It's so good. It's nice and crisp and cold. I love Sundays.
You love the Prosecco and you love Sundays. You love both of them.
True. It is absolutely true. So, today's episode is called The Naked Truth.
That should have got people's attention right there.
Well, we're not naked. As you can see, our faces are naked.
That's very true.
But yeah, it's an episode where we kind of pull back the filters, get rid of the filters, pull back the curtain, and tell some truths.
We have talked about doing this episode for quite some time now. It's taken a bit of courage, you guys, I'll be honest with you, because we're sitting here, for those of you that are listening, not watching right now, no hair, we have hair. Hair is not done. That's the truth. Makeup is not done. That's the truth. And we're both sitting here in t-shirts right now. I don't know about you. I have my leggings on as well, Lisa. So that is a truth for me as well.
I have sweats on and yeah.
I love it.
So all natural.
All au naturel. That is absolutely true. So here's the concept. Here's what we want to share with you guys today is that behind the makeup, behind the hair, behind all the filters are just at the end of the day, Lisa and Angie. And as our community continues to grow, we thought it was a really good time for us to introduce ourselves in a way that we haven't done yet to date, really, with our community. And so what we're going to do is both Lisa and I are going to spend some time in this episode talking to you about a pivotal moment in our lives that really helped us become grounded in momentum for change, how we worked through it, how it really helped us to establish and build our why, our reason, and how we've pulled these experiences together to help us create Wotherwill Group and to help us become the coaches that we're becoming and to help us become and continue to be your wing women. So it's a little bit nerve-wracking a bit because, we're going to share some things that maybe there's people, who feel like they know you and I really well, Lisa, that there's going to be some naked truths that are going to be new for them to hear. And we know for a fact there's also going to be components of this episode that are going to hit home with our listeners and our viewers. Because once we pull back those curtains, it's all there. It's all exposed for you to see the whole freaking naked truth. So I don't know. Do you want me to go first, Lisa, or are you going to go first?
I would love that.
You would love for me to go first.
I would love for you to go first.
Okay. So the story I'm going to share today takes place in July of just shy of 6 years ago now. And I was heading to Vegas for my 40th birthday with my girl gang, and we were heading out, and my husband had planned this amazing trip for us, and we were going to be spoiled. We were absolutely spoiled, and we were in Vegas for I think just shy of a week, and it was absolutely amazing. we had so much fun. We did all the things that we should have done for a 40th birthday bash. That's all I'm going to say. We had a penthouse suite. We made lots of fun and bad decisions and made lots of memories and lots of laughs and times that I'll never forget. So, the rest of the Vegas stuff I'm not going to share with you guys today. Sorry. It's going to stay in Vegas. That's what I'm going to say. Got back and, had some time to actually start going through photos and looking at, the trip that was the 40th birthday bash, and started really looking at myself in those photos and in disbelief going, who the hell is that? Who the hell am I? When did I become that? Oh, I've told this story a few times now, but it's still hard to tell. So anyways, I had a significant amount of shame because I quickly dismissed all the good times and all the bad decisions and all the memories. They just evaporated almost instantaneously, and I became fixated on my appearance because my appearance was not one that I saw when I looked in the mirror. And all of a sudden, I saw someone who looked unhealthy, overweight. I would use the word obese, to be honest. Unattractive, someone who has let themselves go, someone who I was unfamiliar with and who I didn't recognize. And I allowed my mind to determine that my value and my worth were completely in alignment with the weight of the scale that was sitting in my bathroom. And I did take some time and stepped on that scale and saw a number that I was incredibly uncomfortable with and incredibly unfamiliar with as well. And I had a decision to make in that moment. And that was, this is going to be hard either way. It's going to be hard to continue down this track where I was using food and inactivity as a way to cope with stress, or it was going to be hard to make some changes so that I could get to the weight, this goal weight that I had in mind. And I was very fixated on, I needed to be a certain weight. There was a certain number. My value was defined by this number on the scale. And I was, and in that moment, it was short-term motivation and inspiration for me to make some changes. So I decided I was going to go to the gym. We already had a membership. I wasn't using it. We had some free personal training sessions that were unused, and I decided this is what I was going to do. So I put on what I had for gym clothes, and I made an appointment, and yes, they could set me up for a personal trainer. And I got to the parking lot of the gym and I sat there. And I remember sitting there in the parking lot going, what if I don't belong? Like, I'm not skinny. I'm not fat. Do I deserve to even walk through the doors of a place such as this? Will I be accepted? Will I be turned away? Will I be made fun of? Will I be stared at? And I made this incredible bullshit story of how I was going to be treated the minute I walked through the doors before I had even walked through the doors. And I made a decision to get my ass out of my vehicle, and I walked through those doors. And I was greeted. Hi, nice to have you here. Not one person looked at me in a way that I had made the story up of how they were going to look at me. I met with a trainer who focused on truly what I wanted to be doing, which was to become healthier. And he was this young guy, but yet seemed to understand this 40-year-old woman who apparently was, going through some things in life. And together we took it step by step. And every day I went, and every time I went, it got a little bit easier. And the minute it got too easy, then he knew how to level things up for me. So it was a process for sure. Once I got more comfortable with going to the gym, I knew that my nutrition was something that I needed to tackle as well, because I've gone to the gym before. I've done this before. I've experienced this before, and I've gained and lost the same freaking 25 pounds like a million times over. I also had done every weight loss component, whatever program on the planet, you name it, I have done it all. And I'm in the situation where I'm in that at that time, where I was unrecognizable to myself. So I knew that once I had the habits in place of going to the gym regularly, that the nutrition piece was best. And so then I was ready to enlist getting some nutrition coaching. Then came probably one of the most pivotal points for me in this journey. And we're talking years here, guys. Like this was not like just a couple months, we're talking years. And I believe I was 43 when some changes came, and I was looking to go to a different gym. And I found a group of people that I joined group classes with, and it quickly became apparent that they were my sources of support, my sources of inspiration and motivation, but that I was valued in the same way for their group as well. And so we just connected. So it was all these pieces came together. It was the openness to take a risk. It was the understanding that either way there was going to be toughness and a hardness that was going to have to be tackled. I just had to decide which one I was going to take on. It was the understanding that slow and steady and building gradual habits and stacking and layering those habits was going to lead to success. And it was knowing that who I surrounded myself with and let into my headspace was going to make a big difference for me. But there was still one piece missing, because I was still focused on that number on the scale. And although I was dabbling with some other concepts around that, my motivation continued to lie within the number on the scale. And I finally worked with another coach, and she took me through an exercise, and it was really about developing my why and digging deep with it. And it was messy, and there wasn't enough waterproof mascara that could save that event. That's all I'm going to tell you. It was just a hot mess. And really what it came down to when we worked through this activity is that I have the right to be strong and healthy in my body, in my mind, in my beliefs, in all areas of life. And it was giving myself permission that I had a right to do that, is really what it came down to. And that was transformational for me. Mm-hmm. That does not mean that every single day when I wake up in the morning that I don't have to fight the demon that wants me to tug on this beautiful muffin top that I have and shame myself for that. That I don't have to fight the demon who wants me to look at the cellulite on my legs, or how my booty isn't quite as plump as I would like it to be. It's not that those demons have gone away. It's just that I have kick-ass tools in fighting them, and I know how to go into warrior mode much better than I was able to before. And it all really came down to choosing my environment, choosing my heart, choosing who I was going to surround myself with, and truly understanding why I was going to get up on the days when motivation and inspiration were still sleeping in frickin' bed, when I was getting my ass up at 4:30 in the morning to go to the gym. Mm-hmm. And that's my naked truth. And I could talk about so many other areas of life, but that journey continues to be a journey for me today, and really was pivotal for me. So I've told it so many times and I still get choked up about it, but this is why we're doing this episode.
Absolutely. And I've heard your story a number of times, and truthfully, Angie, more of your truth comes out each time you tell that story and each time I hear it. And I've had the privilege of being alongside you through this entire journey of yours that you speak of today. And it is remarkable to see that transformation, but not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. And, you know, your mind and your body and your spirit has just really, really evolved. And it's been just amazing to watch you and know that it is hard, and watching you choose your heart every single day. You make it look easy, I'm not gonna lie, but I know that it isn't. I know that it isn't. So
no.
Thank you for sharing your story with us.
My pleasure. I just think it's so important, Lisa, like for us to be in the position that we're in with Wotherwill. To be dishonest with our community is to be disrespectful. And as our community continues to grow, I just think our community should expect honesty from us. And so that's what this episode is all about for you guys.
Absolutely. I'm in a group, and a couple of weeks ago, I made a comment in the group that I feel like I'm the webbed feet of a swan paddling underneath the surface while everyone else gracefully floats along the water. And someone actually replied and said, "It's interesting you say that, because I see you as the beautiful swan floating across the water." And so perception is everything. And I think the more we can share our truths and tell our stories, the more relatable, as you say, we become. And I think it's more empowering for others to be able to tell their story and live their truth as well.
I agree. Okay, so I've shared my naked truth, and I know our community would love to hear from you. So you're on. It's your open mic now, Lise.
I'm sweating. I think, well, I know that my journey to this moment where we are today began when I found out that I was pregnant at the tender age of 16. And so for, I don't know, obvious reasons, the people in my life, my friends, my family, strangers, there were some who were disappointed in me, in my situation. And so I think back to that time now, and I recognize that there was a lot of disapproval and shame and judgment that filled my life. And even though I was still a straight A student, you know, still working a part-time job on the Student Leadership Council, this one thing made me feel so ashamed and like a colossal disappointment. So I think that that's why I believe that that's where my journey to where I am today started. My baby was due on June 28th, and he was born on report card day of grade 11. So, of course, because he was due that at that time, I had asked for me to get if I could write my finals early, so that, you know, I could be done and not have to worry about going into labor during a final exam.
Fair.
So wouldn't that have been fun?
No.
So there's this one moment that happened around that time that has just stuck with me for my whole life. And that was one particular teacher when I recall there being a form or something that I needed to get signed to approve that, for them to approve me not writing final exams. And I remember standing beside his desk, and as he was signing off on this approval, saying something to the effect of, what a waste.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was just one example of some comments or things that were said at that time that just made me feel shame. But it also fueled a fire in me that had me promising my baby boy that I was going to move mountains for him, and that I was not going to be a statistic, and I was going to prove them all wrong. So my son was born on June 30th, as I said. And so of course in Canada, July 1st is Canada Day. And I remember holding my baby that night and seeing the fireworks out my hospital window, and just feeling that fire, like, just well up in me. And I was going to make something of our life, and he was never going to have to want for anything. And I guess at first glance, that earnestness and that determination maybe sounds admirable, but really what ended up happening was I threw myself into this perpetual state of, like, I don't know, like a pursuit of happiness almost. So it was always like, when I'm done high school, things will get better. Once I get my teaching degree, we'll be able to start our lives. You know, when mama gets a job, things will be easier. We'll be on easy street. I should get married. Once I have a baby, I'll be happy. Da, 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 right? So I kept focusing on the end game and that end target that was almost like a moving target, because once I would accomplish one thing, I would be immediately setting out to accomplish the next. So I wasn't really focusing on joy. I wasn't living for the moment. I was just kind of going through the motions, I guess. And then suddenly 16 years had gone by, and I found myself getting my master's diploma and divorce papers basically in the same month. And I remember I bought a house, and I remember sitting in that vacant house on the floor wondering, how the heck did I get here? Like, all of these boxes were checked off in my life. Mm-hmm. You know, like I had my master's, all of these things. I mean, I didn't have babies, and that's a whole other story, but there I was sitting in this empty house with divorce papers in hand and a son whose graduation was coming at me with warp speed. And I just kept wondering, how is this my life? Like, how did I get here?
So you had the laundry list of all the things,
mm-hmm.
but you still had vacancy.
Yeah. It was almost like I could look back over those last 16 years and it was like it was like watching a movie. Like it was like I didn't even experience any of those things. But it was also around that time actually that I can't remember if I started the book club. I probably did, because that would be my nature. But there was a group of us who started a book club, and we chose the book, The Happiness Project. It was more about drinking wine, honestly, than it was about reading the book. But we did read the book. And it was the first time reading that book, The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin, mm-hmm. where I was kind of introduced to that idea of little things can lead to big things if they're implemented, consistently and with intention. And there was a quote, and I don't remember if the quote was in the book or if I just came across the quote at the same time, but it's by Matisse, and it's, "There are always flowers if you choose to see them." Mm. And I remember having that quote written on a chalkboard in my house. And it was that first time of realizing that joy is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But it also makes you incredibly vulnerable. And so I chose my heart at that time. And I decided that I was going to start living with intention and with optimism and with joy in my life every single day. And of course, that didn't mean that I didn't have bad days and I didn't get into a funk, or I wasn't stuck. Of course I was. But I worked really hard at developing strategies to prevent me from staying stuck.
Mm-hmm.
There had been times in my life previous to this where I was stuck, and I was stuck for a long time, and it cost me a lot. So that was my heart. I chose strategies. I developed habits that developed that positive mindset and those strategies to help me deal with stress and low times. And about 5 years after we started the book club, one of the girls in our club, in the Happiness Project, we still call ourselves the Happiness Project today, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, my dear friend Chantal, and she passed away a year after that diagnosis. And it was a wake-up call for me to, it sounds so cliche, but I guess that's why they're cliches, because they're true. But life is precious and every day is a gift. And that was just more of a punctuation of that, living with intention and living a joyful life. And so I've spent the last 10 years of my life building habits and, as I said, developing strategies that focus on my happiness and my stress level. And so implementing boundaries, taking times to rest and not feel guilty about it. I think as women especially, we feel bad if we take time to rest or disconnect, but it's really so important for our mental health. And I think one of the things that I'm most proud of is the morning routine that I've continued to develop and refine over the past year and a half, almost 2 years. I'm very intentional about how I spend the first hour of my day. And I truly believe that has such an incredible impact on the rest of on my day and essentially my whole life. And there's a lot of research out there that would suggest how you spend the first hour of the day greatly influences your life. So, while for me, my heart maybe isn't, as visible to others, I do believe that in addition to how important our physical health and our nutrition is, so is our mental health, obviously. And so that is definitely an area that I focused on. And in turn, I'm learning to love myself. I'm learning to be proud of me instead of seeking other people's approval as a result of that shame that I've lived with for almost 28 years. And so it just I'm still flawed. I still have so much work to do. But when you and I said out loud what we've been experiencing for the last several years and how we were kind of doing it alone, but realized we were actually cheering each other on and in each other's corner. And the fact that we had the courage to say, we need to share our stories with other women, and we need to be that cheerleader, that wing woman, those wing women for others. I'm just so proud of us that we had the courage to do that, and that we're here today sharing our stories and cheering others on as well. It's really just, been that next kind of chapter in our lives, and I'm just really proud.
Oh, I I am too. I echo that here. Cheers to you.
Cheers.
To say you're proud of your accomplishments without feeling ashamed of that is just like, that's just another notch in the personal growth development. Lisa, I've heard you share that your that journey several times before, and just like you said, for me, like there's different pieces that you pulled from it, or maybe I shared a little bit differently as I become more comfortable with being more open with my feelings about my process. But a couple things that I pulled out is this freaking concept of shame.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not unique. Our the clients that we work for coaching, I mean, that comes through time and time again. The other thing that really hit home for me today is when you were talking about joy and you
Mm-hmm.
use the word vulnerability, and some
Mm-hmm.
people feel like vulnerability is that showing those deep emotions and just like letting everything spill out. But vulnerability is, in my opinion, when it comes to joy, is being very clear with yourself what you're willing to give up and no longer tolerate in order to have your threshold for your maximum amount of joy, because it is, to me, on a continuum. And if you want ultimate joy, that means that you are going to have to make some really hard decisions about what you will and will no longer tolerate
Yep.
within your life. And that's where the vulnerability sets in around that.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I mean, neither of although our stories are very meaningful and personal for you and I, they're not unique. There's so many people that are listening to this right now going, well, yeah, I've faced that, or I've had that, or that's the point. That's why we're sharing this with you, is that you don't need to, nor were you ever intended to do all of this hard shit on your own. And that's what our community is all about. And we could all tell stories that get us choked up and get us emotional. That's called life.
Mm-hmm.
But reserving those and thinking that you have to take it on your own is why we're here, to help you do some myth busting around that, to let you know that you're no longer alone. We're here. We're your champions without judgment. And freaking shame can just piss off, because it has no place in our life. So I'm going to say that and have a little bit of Prosecco now that I'm all heated up.
You go, girlfriend. And that's what I love about what we have to offer to our community, Angie. It's that space where, our community can come and hang out with us and feel safe and focus on them and find those answers within themselves, right? Like I think we've grown up, looking for external influences to kind of determine whether or not we're good enough, right?
Yep.
When I was young, it was the cover of Teen Magazine and then Cosmopolitan, right? Disney movies, social media, the filters. We are constantly looking at external influences to determine our worth. And what I love about what we do as wing women is invite women into this space where they get to dream and live to their potential in a safe, I would like to say, fun environment.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't know about you, Angie, but showing up at a party or a little gathering with friends and wanting to spend 45 minutes talking about me and my goals. I mean, I have some pretty amazing friends who would probably be supportive, but there's probably way more exciting things to talk about than that. So that's what we provide, a fun space to hang out and kind of uncover those answers that we know are within us. And it's not about it's not therapy. It's not about, digging into some of those past emotional traumas that we may face. It's about focusing on how we can show up for the world and cheering each other on and holding each other accountable when we need to.
Yeah, I love that. And, to me, it's also about, it's getting out of your own way. Like sometimes we get these big ideas, these notions, these self-imposed expectations of what we should, which I always say is associated to the other SH word. And then really getting stuck on that. And we get so fixated and we spend so much time getting focused on the big idea of what we think life should be offering for us, that we're unable to move forward with those baby steps of working towards and uncovering what our true goals are and unleashing our potential. So I'm with you 100% there, lady.
The shoulds need to, because you know what? I should have waited 5 more years, 10 more years to become a mom. But I'm going to tell you one thing for free. He is still the best accomplishment that I have ever made in my life. And you know what? I may have been young, but I think the two of us have turned out just fine.
I would agree with that. And we could also say that, I mean, maybe the two of us both shouldn't have had practice marriages. But then I always think, right? Like, look what we have now.
Yeah.
Right?
No regrets.
No, moving forward.
That's right. That's right. Okay, well, we pulled back the curtain.
We really have.
Else you want to share?
No, I, you know what? Thanks for listening, you guys. And we know we have resonated with a lot of you right now. So thanks for being our wing women, just as much as we work so hard every single day to continue to be the wing women that you need us and deserve us to be for you.
Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being brave. Continue to be brave, and we will see you next time on Pep Talks Prosecco. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers. Hold the freaking presses. I don't know. Are you guys getting a little bit tired about feeling stuck all the time? Guess what? Lisa and I have been stuck many, many times.
So many times.
And we found ways to get unstuck. So, Lisa, tell them how we can help them out.
Well, we want to be your wing women by offering you a 30-minute free virtual consultation with us. So if that sounds something like you're interested in, head on over to our website, wotherwill.com, and sign up for that consultation today. Cheers!